How many of you have heard of the Human Development Fund? Raise your hand. Okay. All right. How many of you have not heard of the Human Development Fund? Raise your hand. Okay. How many of you are waiting for me to get off stage so you can hear the other Qur'an? Raise your hand. Okay. At least you guys are being honest. That's fine. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. So rather than me telling you, of HDF being a 501c3 organization, us working in 33 different countries across the globe, I want to encapsulate it for you in a story of how HDF was founded and the very first project that we sponsored. Because it's really important, because that set the tone for HDF's identity. HDF is the Human Development Fund. And when you translate those initials, HDF to Arabic, ha, dal, fa, what does that spell in Arabic? Hadaf. What does that mean? It means a goal, it means a purpose. And our purpose, inshallah, is to uplift people out of that cycle of poverty. So the very first project that we did was actually in Kenya, at the Islamic University of Kenya, where HDF was sponsoring students from 13 different countries in Africa to attend the Islamic University of Kenya for an internationally recognized bachelor's degree. And alhamdulillah, the education that they received there was not just in Sharia and Islamic sciences, but also in secular sciences as well. And it's internationally accredited, alhamdulillah. So what that does for a family or for a person that's living in poverty is it breaks that cycle of poverty with education, where they now know and they now can earn an income on behalf of their family. And not only that, with an internationally accredited bachelor's degree, you can then apply for a master's program anywhere in the world. So we started this program, and our CEO reminded us, and we were reflecting after 1 year into the organization, and he reminded us of the story of the Prophet ﷺ, where the Prophet ﷺ, Ya ahbab Rasulillah, sallu ala Rasulillah. So there was two companions that were brothers, and one of them would spend each and every single day with the Prophet ﷺ and learning from the Prophet ﷺ, while the other brother was working every single day to make sure that he's providing for his family, and specifically providing for his brother that's sitting and learning from the Prophet ﷺ. So naturally, the brother got jealous, and he complained to the Prophet ﷺ and told him, why is it fair that my brother gets to sit here, and this is in front of his brother and in front of the Prophet ﷺ, and he says, why is it fair that my brother gets to sit with the Prophet ﷺ and learn from him every day, spend all day with him? And the Prophet ﷺ beautifully responded to him and said, لَعَلَّكَ تُرْزَقُ بِهِ, that perhaps your provisions and the barakah and the rizq and everything good that you get in your life is because you took care of your brother and you sponsored your brother. So subhanAllah, that is what we attribute all of the success that we've had as an organization, is because that was our foundation, that we started off by providing and sponsoring education for people that needed it, and it changed their life. Alhamdulillah, beyond that, we ended up establishing the program even more. We created an avenue for orphan sponsorships to go directly to that university, where a lot of organizations, there's an expiration date or graduation date for the orphan sponsorship. But for us, we said, no, we need to take care of them beyond that. Just because they reach 16, 17, 18 does not mean they don't need help anymore. In fact, you're leaving them at a disadvantage by not providing them higher education. So alhamdulillah, we were able to do that as a part of that program. But tonight, we're here for a different cause. Tonight, we're here for the children of Gaza. Alhamdulillah, we've been given a blessing and an opportunity to be able to sponsor 1,000 orphans in Gaza. And before this opportunity, it wasn't possible to have a one-to-one orphan sponsorship for the children of Gaza. Primarily because the humanitarian standards and the humanitarian laws require a child to have a permanent address in order for them to be eligible for a one-to-one orphan sponsorship. So HDF is an organization that works based off of need. When we found out that there was children being brought out of the rubble and they were malnourished, we responded by providing baby formula for them. And when we found out that the mothers were malnourished themselves and weren't able to provide breast milk for the children, we provided the baby formula for them. Similarly, when the children approached our staff, alhamdulillah, I can proudly tell you, HDF now has over 90 staff members in Gaza. Takbir. 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 Guys, I'm noticing a couple of faces, just for, the staff here and stuff like that. Allahu Akbar just means God is the greatest. That's all it means. Doesn't mean anything else. But, alhamdulillah, we were able to hear the cries of the children there in Gaza. When they said, we just want to feel like normal kids. We want a sense of normalcy. I want to be able to get an education like every other child in the world. I want to be able to play with other kids. I want to be able to have a roof over my head. I want to be able to stay warm. And alhamdulillah, HDF responded. And we were one of the first, if not the first, to provide this project that we called the Seeds of Hope Project, where we made these makeshift tents and made these education centers for the children of Gaza. And in those centers, we provided that permanent address for them. We provided food. We provided shelter. We provided psychotherapy services. We made sure we had recreational days for the children, so that way they can get their mind off of what's been happening. And beyond that, alhamdulillah, we also provide Quran classes for the children, which you'll see in the video later on in the program. The other part that I want us to focus on is we know that the orphan is one of the most vulnerable in society. And they have the most tawakkul, or reliance on God, on Allah Almighty, more than anyone else. Through my experience, I've been to the field. I've been to Sudan. I've been to Jordan. I've been to Egypt. Been to Turkey. Been to a couple of different countries, alhamdulillah, to deliver the aid on your behalf. And not only that, but to also do monitors and evaluations on your behalf and to audit the projects to make sure that your aid is being delivered. And that was one lesson that I learned, is that the orphan has the most tawakkul and reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where they don't know where their next step is supposed to be. They don't know where they're supposed to go. Sometimes they don't know where their next meal is coming from. The children of Gaza have it worse than any other orphan as well, because they're going through all that while they're in a war zone. And a lot of these children don't know where their next meal is coming from. And if you can just imagine that child roaming whatever's left of the streets of Gaza with rubble on the ground and just walking around aimlessly, not knowing where to go, no more living family members, doesn't know where their next meal is coming from, and they're just roaming around. And to date now, we have over 45,000 orphans in Gaza. And tonight, we have an opportunity to take care of these orphans. HDF was presented the opportunity to take care of 1,000 orphans. Alhamdulillah, we surpassed the halfway mark so far in this tour. And we thought it was important for us to not only bring the Quran to the community before the month of Ramadan, but also to allow an opportunity for us to take care of these children in Gaza, that some of them will also be fasting as well. And we want to make sure that they're fasting out of choice, not fasting out of necessity, inshallah. So let's go through the slides, inshallah. So alhamdulillah, we were able to provide for over 1,000 children. And we were able to provide food parcels. We were able to do medical examinations. What's interesting is actually this community is what sparked us doing medical clinics and medical care in Gaza. We had an event at the Embassy Suites back in 2024. We had an event there in, what's the city starts with? Is it Tyson? What's the city? Is it Tyson? Is that what it is? Oh, Tigard, sorry. So the Embassy Suites there, we were having an event, and we were also raising for Gaza. And subhanAllah, I had a friend from the Bay Area named Dr. Subh. He had just come back from Gaza. He came to my community. I'm from the Bay Area, by the way. And he presented to us all the children that he met, and he went through the slides and whatnot. So I had just finished the fundraising, and actually Sheikh Yahya was there. Sheikh Yahya was supposed to go up afterwards. So I'm getting off stage, and then I'm walking out to head back to my room to grab something real quick. And as I'm walking by, I see this child in a wheelchair that passes by me, and the child looks so familiar. So I looked at him for a quick second, I kept walking. And then I was like, I know this kid. I was like, something's telling me I need to talk to him. So I turned back around, and I was like, what's your name? And then he ignored me, because obviously, he didn't speak English. And he was like looking away from me. I was like, what's your name? And then he didn't respond to me again. I said, Ismak eh? Asked him in Arabic. I was like, what's your name? And he said, Ana ismi Yusuf. And I was like, Inta منين? Where are you from? He's like, Ana min Gaza. And then I asked him, he said, I'm from Gaza. I said, where are you from? He said, I'm from Gaza. And he had like these screws in his, unfortunately, subhanAllah, they couldn't save his leg. They tried as much as they could, and they had to amputate it. But he had these screws in his leg. And then I told him, I was like, do you know Dr. Muhammad Subh? He's like, Taban, huwa sahbi. He's like, of course, that's my friend. And then I was like, okay. And then I was like, subhanAllah, I was like, he was just telling me about you. And then I told him, Inta batal. I told him, you're our hero. And then he's like, no, I'm not anything. I was like, please, can I have you go, can I introduce you to the mashayikh? And then he was like, no, please. He's like, I get shy. So then his mother came up afterwards, and then the first thing she said to me, she's like, subhanAllah, you reminded me of my cousin who was martyred as soon as I saw her. And then she was like, even your energy. And she was like, can you give my salam, or she's like, can you give, my greetings and my salam to Dr. Subh when you see him? I was like, absolutely. And then alhamdulillah, I was able to get them to connect with Dr. Subh here. And it happened to be in Portland that happened. My CEO was there. I introduced him to Yusuf. And from that day forward, my CEO was like, okay, we need to do more on the medical side for Gaza. So I want to give a big takbir for this community, that this is the community that helped us spark that. So takbir, takbir, takbir. So alhamdulillah, we're providing medical aid and medical clinics for these children to make sure that they aren't susceptible to waterborne diseases or any other sort of diseases, as well as providing a pharmacy for them, doing monthly checkups on them, and making sure they're getting the medication that they deserve. The 2-year-old question, are you actually able to get into Gaza? Alhamdulillah, we're able to get inside of Gaza, and it's an unprecedented time. So there was many avenues and many vetted avenues that we took, but I'll tell you the strongest one that we use is because of our relationship with the Jordanian government and the GHCO, the Jordan Hashemite Charity Organization. And oftentimes they have the humanitarian corridor open, or the humanitarian border open, or the commercial corridor open. So whenever it's open, alhamdulillah, because of our relationship with them, they're able to prioritize our trucks to get in. Alhamdulillah, Sheikh Omar Sulaiman was actually on the field with us in Jordan. He packed 2 trucks that came in and went in August. Also, Dr. Farhan Aziz, if you guys are aware of him, visited our projects there in Gaza, and you should be able to see him in the videos when we show it. And alhamdulillah, since he's come back, when people ask, who are the organizations that you saw on the ground there, he highly endorses HDF and the work that HDF does. So that's generally the avenue that we're able to get in. We store it in our warehouses there, alhamdulillah. And our last resort is to purchase inside of Gaza, which is the most expensive option. But if we're able to provide for the children there, and we're able to provide for the people of Gaza there, then we make sure that we do it, alhamdulillah. We've been able to provide the school kits, and I told you about the Seeds of Hope project that we initiated, as well as the hygiene kits and the educational assistance. Dr. Shihab had a famous quote, and he said, I saw so many kids there in Gaza who were just wandering around, with no one around and nothing to do. And this is just to kind of re-emphasize that image that you have of that child in Gaza walking around. And subhanAllah, when we were discussing what cause we should go for this Quran tour, part of us didn't want to pick this cause for 2 reasons. Number one, it's one of the hardest things to talk about, because we've seen our brothers and sisters go through torment for the last 2 years. How many of you saw the videos of what happened to our brothers and sisters in Gaza? How many of you were broken by it? How many of you felt helpless? How many of you cried? How many of you felt like crying? SubhanAllah, it affected every single person. Age didn't matter. Gender didn't matter. Religion didn't matter. Everyone saw what happened to our brothers and sisters in Gaza, and everyone was affected by it. The other side of it is I didn't want to ask on the behalf of the children in Gaza and for them to get denied. And I want you to imagine that child in Gaza standing there, and anytime we visited the field and we went to any orphans project, as soon as we get off the bus, the children are hugging you so tight and they don't want to let go of you. Or you're just walking around normally, and then they just grab your hand for dear life and they do not want to let go. That's the status of an orphan, is that they're constantly looking for that adult figure or that parent figure to show them the next step, for them to feel safe. To the point where when they're holding my hand, my staff members in those countries almost have to pry their hands out of my hand in order for them to go on to the next activity. But alhamdulillah, we make sure that we retain our staff there to take care of these children and to be somewhat of that figure for these children on the field. So I want you to imagine that child in Gaza looking for that next step, alone. Yeah, there's people around them, but those people are worried about themselves. And that child standing alone, not knowing where his next meal is coming from, not knowing what next steps he needs to take, not knowing where he can find shelter. Then I want you to remember yourself. I want you to imagine yourself on Yawm al-Qiyamah, on the Day of Judgment, standing like that child, looking for your next step, looking for answers from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, looking for someone to help you on that day. And perhaps when you help this child tonight, that child can witness for you and witness for you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and tell Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yeah, Allah, when I needed guidance, when I needed my next meal, when I needed my next steps, this person was able to provide for me. This person was able to help me enroll with HDF. And this person was able to take care of me. Many of us, and some people in this room, you might have families from Gaza living with you. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you immensely. The rest of us wish we could have that opportunity. And inshallah tonight, you have that opportunity to take care of at least one child in Gaza, inshallah. And inshallah, our promise to you is transparency. Part of our vision and our values as an organization is we pride ourselves in transparency and to have amana. That when you sponsor tonight, inshallah, by the time Ramadan comes around, you'll know exactly which child you're sponsoring in Gaza, inshallah. So, to talk about the price, we understand that it's an unprecedented time. And when you see this price of $150 a month, which alhamdulillah, a lot of us are very capable of doing that, or $1,800 a year, you might say, I've never seen another organization that has the price that high for orphan sponsorship. But since I said it is an unprecedented time, for us to provide for our brothers and sisters there does require more resources, and those resources are more expensive because of the climate that the children are living in. So it's $1,800 a year to take care of one child in Gaza, inshallah. So, yeah, $1,800 a year or $150 a month. What does that provide? It provides nutrition, education, health, security, and comfort. My question to you is, if this was your child in Gaza, if this was your younger sibling that's there in Gaza, what's the price that you're willing to pay in order for someone to take care of them after you're gone? Wa jazakallahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.